Uh, it's before I start, I was thinking, of course, let me say, Honorable External Affairs Minister Sri Jaishankar, Dr. Jaishankar, dear students of IIM Calcutta, faculty colleagues, members joining us online, members of the staff, other guests, ladies and gentlemen, namaskar to all of you. Also, Dr. Jaishankar, thank you very much for sharing with us your deep insights on the complex issue of India and the world. You sent us the topic. I was contemplating that I have this onerous task of concluding remarks. And probably it's the most difficult talk that I'm trying to do. And so you can grade me, and if I will try to match up, at least as a student, I'm allowed to try to match up to somebody who have, by the way, I should share that I have had the privilege of knowing Dr. Jaishankar from 1996 when he was Deputy Chief of Mission in Tokyo. In those days, I used to be the country head and managing director of world's largest robot manufacturer's operations in India called Fanuc India. And he was very, very gracious even in those days. So, sir, I remember all those days. But I have followed him silently as he has traversed the globe, including the things which Uttam Da read out about his role in IPKF, political advisor, nuclear deals. And of course, in those days, my horizons were more narrow. As you grow older, you don't necessarily become smarter, but yes, you do become a little more open because the runway starts ending. You can see the end of the runway. And then really, you lose this aggression about life. You start soaking in life because you know the runway will end. It happens, but it doesn't happen to you to us. We all know it ends, but it doesn't happen very early on. So I've been following Sir for some time. I watch her YouTube videos, but over the last few days since he so graciously accepted our request, and Abhishek, thank you so much, Abhishek, for, the PGP is the traditional committee which does managing this, and Abhishek was gracious enough to allow us to play a combinatory role in this. So, but over the last few days, I have wondered how I should use this time allocated to me for concluding remarks. And there is just no way that you can do anything but anticipate. So I was very keenly listening to you about negotiations, and was I able to read your mind, both the political, the diplomatic, and of course, the other traditional aspects of a career civil servant. So what I'm going to speak will not cover the gamut of things that he touched upon, and I can only apologize to all of you, but it's just humanly not possible to follow an act like this. But I decided that I will share some experiences because I know I have gleaned from whatever I have seen, and I believe that I have a good handle on Dr. Jaishankar's personality, and it's that courage which is allowing me to share some experiences. It is my hope that in sharing these experiences, I will be able to touch key aspects that for me define Bharat, that is India, and in doing so do justice to Dr. Jaishankar's talk, which was India and the world. But I said, okay, he's spoken India in the world. Do I even know India? And can I take this opportunity to put my thoughts as concluding remarks as a student in front of him? And of course, I don't have the privilege of him grading me right now or telling me kya hai. But I will take this leap of faith, a risk, and I'll go ahead with it. So first point, in 2015-16, not so far away, I had the privilege to join my teacher, Sri M, on a Padyatra from Kanyakumari in South India to Srinagar in Jammu and Kashmir. This walk traversed 7,500 kilometers across India, and it lasted for 16 months. Now, why do I say this? Over these 16 months, I had ample time to think and consolidate my views and my reasoning about my own country and the confusions that I had, which most of us have. He talked about how we debate among our circles. And I think my debates with my cohorts was no different. I'm sure plus minus it's happening the same in your hostels. So I summarize my views from that walk. 16 months, every day walking, 7,500 kilometers. I cut down my digital footprint to emergency calls. My wife is sitting here. My son stopped talking to me, saying, "Ye to pagal ho gaya." Anyways, so what did I glean? 4 points. I understood, and today I'm comfortable with my understanding, that it is our spiritual heritage, Sanatan Dharma as it's called, that continues to bind us as one people, which then becomes one nation. That's my first point. And in this, the second point is, somebody talked about Vasudeva Kutumbakam and put a question to him, and this is so opportune. If you have some idea of our scriptures, thousands of years ago, our scriptures have actually mentioned one line I'm picking up, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, which means the happiness for all sentient lives on this planet Earth. Now, this is, you can't get anything more secular than Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. It does not say, Bharatiya Bhavantu Sukhina or some XYZ country or some religious denomination. So this is not religion out here. And this, I want to talk to the youngsters in the presence of our External Affairs Minister and say, we adopt, this was said thousands of years before we adopted our constitution on 26 January 1950. And then sometime later, we amended our constitution. The preamble to the constitution was amended, which is the 42nd Amendment. And we added the word secular in that. So I want you people to consider, that the word secular in our solemn resolution in defining what constitutes Bharat, we may have put it up as a 42nd Amendment, but our forefathers in this land had already articulated it beautifully thousands of years ago. Therefore, we must never forget that Bharat Maa ka aanchal jo hai, bahut bada hai. And I'm sorry I'm speaking Hindi because certain things I get back into my vernacular. I cannot speak in English in the same bhava. So, Bharat Mata ka aanchal itna bada hai ki jo bhi aaya, jaise bhi aaya, sama gaya. Whoever came, everybody's become a part of this national, cauldron. Now, but having said that, I had time to contemplate. We boast about, and this is bandied very, very often, especially in debates, political debates, that, there is unity in our diversity. You must have heard about that. Now, my view on this over the 16-month walk, I came to crystallize as a student that yes, there is unity in diversity, but hey, take a note of the fact that the key word in this is unity and not diversity. Think about it for a second, When unity is compromised, even a family falls prey to destructive forces. And Dr. Jaishankar alluded to that unity, whether it is a political unity or a government's unity, or the way in which views are united when we negotiate. So unity is truly the key word, and we should not get swayed just by the fact that there is diversity. Diversity must be celebrated, but not minus unity. This is my view. You guys are students of management, finance. You can discount it at any rate you wish to. I'll be happy to accept that. And finally, Bharat, that is India. And this was asked by my son, Vishnu, who said, Baba, you went for a walk. Did you figure out, are we a nation? Now, my answer to him, and I still hold it, and this is after I actually walked the country, 7,500 kilometers, is that Bharat, that is India, is not a nation. I think it's the world inside a nation. It is truly a world inside a nation. If you're flying from point A to point B, you'll never realize it. Trust me, someday any one of you has the gumption, take out a pair of shoes and walk this nation. You will realize this is not a nation. This is the world inside a nation. Now, Dr. Jaishankar and his team at the Ministry of External Affairs are doing a phenomenal job for us. I mean, I have absolutely no compunction in sharing my heart with the adjectives, but adjectives limit me, but still. Sir, it is such a privilege to have you represent us globally. Your unswerving commitment to national interest, hard work, and intellectual integrity make us feel safe and reassured. But all of us sitting here and joining in through the live link should never forget, any external affairs posture. Now, I have zero experience in diplomacy, external affairs, but I'm a thinking human being, and I put my thought to it. I said, Dr. Jaishankar represents us, and any external affairs posture that we as a nation have or wish to have, and the conviction and the strength that we can project or wish to project, is predicated on the strength back home. What is the strength? There is a strength behind Dr. Jaishankar, why he is able to fully exercise. And this is an institute lecture series, so it's a talk to students, and I'm sure sir will allow me this latitude. So when I speak about what do you mean by the strength back home, so there are many factors, but two of the key factors that contribute to this strength back home, in my view, are our social unity, of which social awareness is a part, because unless there is social awareness, there is no way you can have social mobilization, and if you don't have social mobilization, you can't have development. And the second one is our economic strength. Now, I will limit myself to the second part, the economic strength, which has two dimensions, which I think all of us know about: gross domestic product as one. But I also feel the second one is gross domestic employment, and sir talked about it in a way. So economic strength, in my view, and again, this is through the walk, I saw the entire strata of India's economics layers. And I personally believe that economic strength is not only about wealth creation, but it is also about, one, access to wealth creation. And let me share here an experience which changed my views. It was in 2012-13 that I was asked to work as a consultant to the government of Gujarat. Actually, I was asked to be an employee, but I could not take up that opportunity for personal reasons, and I was asked, be a consultant to us. And it was the area I have never worked in. It was an area of rural development, primarily to do with rural livelihoods. As my job, I visited, because I'm a hands-on, detailed kind of a guy. I know I'm a pain in the, where to many of them, they can say that, but I am a detailed man. Just that's how my training has been. And I visited umpteen, I go to the ground wherever it is. So I visited umpteen villages, met with even more self-help groups of women, SHGs as they are called. Now, these women used to create wealth. They would make things, as Sir called it, manufacturing. You manufacture a quilt, you manufacture something. It is truly creating value and wealth. But what was disturbing was that they created wealth, but they did not have ready access to it, that wealth that they created. And even more disturbing was that the ownership of that wealth that they created, they had unfairly a very small proportion of the ownership of that wealth, Now, I clearly remember in those days I used to report to the then Chief Minister, who is now our Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Bhai Modi. And as his style is, and probably Dr. Jaishankar knows him so much more intimately, I wanted to ask, but I hesitated because today is the Students' Day. What is the style working for him? Because I had a short stint of 6 months. And the gentleman debriefs you regularly. And it's a one-to-one meeting. And I would have these, the 6, 7 months I was there was a monthly meeting. The longest lasted, because till he picks up everything, the longest lasted about 50 minutes. And towards the other end, once he had got the handle on it, meetings would last 15 to 20 minutes. Now, I still clearly remember that day wherein I shared with him the dilemma of the woman from a SHG. So SHGs used to have a bank account in the name of that self-help group. And the women were still poor. So he asked me कि Krishna, हम पैसे डालते हैं तो परिणाम क्यों नहीं आता है? This is his style, you know. And I said, sir, I have gone to the villages and I have seen and I have analyzed, but I am not sure, but I will share my views with you. And I said, कि sir, SHG को आपने account दिया है, but have you ever thought of giving an account to that individual woman? तो वो illiterate है, पर अगर आप उसको account देंगे, तो एक financial inclusion का feeling आता है, and that will rapid strides into social inclusion. This is all that was our discussion. Many years later, it's probably that factor germination, which I believe, and that could be my arrogance, it could be something else, I believe translated into something so much more different, which you all know is called the Jan Dhan Yojana. You know, and so it was a pleasure working with him. Now, I also believe that true economic strength is about making available the ownership of that wealth. So one is create wealth, second is ownership to wealth, the third is, are we as a society making available the ownership of that wealth to the broadest cross-section of society? This needs to be reviewed in our own hearts. Now, so I articulated that we therefore want to increase the middle class while continuing to increase the millionaire class. You cannot ignore one for the other. Now, to achieve such economic strength, the government and industry have recognized the urgent need for a vibrant manufacturing sector, and Sir alluded to it today. So I questioned myself that in a concluding remarks, we just don't say yes to everything. So what impedes India's manufacturing sector? Now, a popular excuse for given is its troubles is inadequate infrastructure, inflexible labor laws and regulatory frameworks. But what is not widely discussed, and I was in the manufacturing sector, what is not widely discussed is the inadequacy of strategy, both at the corporate and national levels, and a general disinclination to take higher entrepreneurial risks, and adequately trained manpower, you know. So mindsets actually change far more slowly than technology and competition. Now, in countries such as China, Japan, and Germany that have very competitive manufacturing sectors, things get done. Now, I went to graduate school at the University of Tokyo in Japan and specialized in control systems theory, manufacturing automation, and robotics. You know, I speak Japanese fluently, and I know how Japanese companies and their governments nurture their supplier ecosystem. Their governments actually intervene through policy actions to support the sector to withstand competition, and all gave special attention to small and medium enterprises, which you call SMEs and MSMEs, to make them competitive drivers of technology. Now, in contrast, I lived through that era when India, and this is what Dr. Jaishankar alluded to, that after 1992, we opened up. But we actually opened up. But what did we do? We actually concentrated on reducing excessive role of government. The focus has been on overall economic growth, but not particularly on the manufacturing sector. So when I look at it from my perspective, the policy pendulum actually swung from one extreme of excessive controls by the state to, I'm putting it for dramatic purpose, to actually abandonment of the manufacturing sector entirely. Also, in our country, on the other hand, strategies, policies, and plans almost never get implemented or completed on time. The root causes of this possibly are inadequate consensus among stakeholders for policy changes and very poor planning and coordination among agencies for timely execution of policies and projects. Now, this unfortunate lack of timeliness tends to have a cost. We in India cannot afford to continue to miss the bus, not merely in terms of implementing reforms on time, but also in terms of loss of policy space. The competition we have to face therefore becomes harder. This is what I see when I analyze this. Now, manufacturing is not only the backbone of an economy, it is actually the muscle behind national security. Dr. Jaishankar actually alluded to it just now. It just happens that I wrote this point down. Now, this painful realization came home to me the first time when India faced severe sanctions and import restrictions after Pokhran II nuclear testing in 1998. I was in the manufacturing sector. The sanctions were almost entirely aimed at crippling our manufacturing capabilities. The second time it came home to me painfully was during the Kargil operations in 1999. Now, increasingly, it is becoming evident that a long-term source of competitive advantage accrues on an ability of agencies and teams of skilled people to collaborate efficiently. Now, Prime Minister Modi spoke about $1 trillion of infrastructure in this country. Now, traditionally, we will not look at infrastructure, say, development of, say, building bridges, building a port, or building an airport. Traditionally, that is infrastructure development. But how many of us know that building a bridge is also manufacturing? It's not your traditional manufacturing in a factory. It's manufacturing on the site. So infrastructure is also manufacturing. So developing infrastructure is also manufacturing. So when he said manufacturing is the muscle behind Indian security, it just resonates in my heart. And so thank you so much, sir. So, now there is no doubt that without a strong manufacturing sector, India's demographic dividend may turn out into a nightmare of unemployed youth. It's a possibility. Now, manufacturing, therefore, has the potential to be the lifeblood of the Indian economy, but it direly needs visionary leadership, leaders who will transform Indian manufacturing to become globally competitive. Now, these leaders will have to navigate through numerous challenges, and I'm not going to articulate, I had written down quite a few points, but just to name a few: anticipating and leveraging rapid technological innovations and disruptions, rising customer expectations, and an educated, individualistic workforce. And with technology which is breaking down barriers, that means silo existence is no more becoming possible, these leaders, they're tasked to build trust and be effective change agents will become that much more difficult than their predecessors. Now, let us for one moment shift gears and look at how the nation looks from the eyes of the Government of India. The Government of India, Dr. Jaishankar and his people, the GOI under Prime Minister Modi, and how do they see the same nation which we see? So the GOI, as I see it, is constantly scanning, looking at national issues, and needing to articulate a vision to resolve these issues. They come out in schemes, and now it further needs to convert a vision into a policy, and a policy must be implemented with last mile execution. So when I look at this, and then I look at the Government of India, I can see that, and here I'm articulating without their permission or without any comparison of notes, so this is not curated. Their vision, this government's visions that I see, and then I define what I think should be the right vision for all of us, you as management students, we as management institutes. Now, any vision to be termed as a vision, it must be, I think, where you do good through you and not for you. This is a subtle difference. If you're doing good for you, I would call it a goal, it's not a vision. But if the good is happening through you, but not for you, that is a worthy vision. Now, Scan their schemes and you will see that it probably fits 100%. Now, subsequent to this, they even go to the next step, which is a very messy affair, which is create policy for that. Those of you who have created policy will vibe with me that it's very easy to bandy it in an MBA classroom, but creating policy is not easy. It's messy. Talking vision is easy, but I have just put a filter on it that makes it that much more difficult. But writing policy is messy. And further, executing on policy with last mile implementation is the hardest of all. The god of success in this is in the details, And on all above counts, our government led by the Honorable Prime Minister and his able team have shown exemplary ability and resilience to deliver. So I think we should give an applause to them. So, thank you very much for resonating with me. I was hesitating, shall I request this? Because, if you guys don't clap, it falls flat, then it becomes truly curated. So thank you very much. Now, but let me caution us, this euphoria should be cautioned. The government alone cannot be held responsible. All institutions in India need to deliver. Are we delivering is a question we must ask individually as institutionally. So we at IIM Calcutta are acutely aware that as an educational institution of eminence, our responsibility is therefore that much higher. And it is my proud privilege, sir, to share with you that we have a program called the PGP-EX VLM program, which is Visionary Leaders for Manufacturing, program launched by IIM Calcutta, IIT Kanpur and IIT Madras in 2007 under the aegis of the National Manufacturing Competitive Council. And that has been endeavoring over the years to educate and build the pool of visionary leaders for the manufacturing industry of this country, sir. While we are proud to be a national asset, a crucible where visionary leaders are molded, we are also aware that a lot more needs to be done. In closing, I would like to stress that creating jobs, this is my view again, is not the domain of the government. You'll find this debate happening again. Bhai, how many jobs did you create? You see it every time on primetime TV, somebody is berating the other. But all of you touch your heart and tell me, is it the job of the government after liberalization? I know that in the boardrooms that I sat, the decision on whether to hire or not was taken in the boardroom. What does the government have to do with it? We are going to employ only that much. The rest is automated. Does the government have a role in it? I think this decision pretty much gets squared up in boardrooms, because the decisions on jobs, employee hiring is of boardrooms, corporations. So it is the manufacturing sector, but still again coming back, it is the manufacturing sector that will create long-term employment, opportunities, and sustained high GDP growth. But let me caution us, but it will probably not be at a scale that 2 generations of Chinese companies enjoyed, because automation is and has and will continue to eliminate jobs. This is a reality. So then what? So adequately and appropriately trained manpower will definitely have opportunities in manufacturing, but it is the SMEs, MSMEs that have the potential to be large-scale employers, and this is in the realm of entrepreneurs, and therefore our ability to support them with adequate policy interventions to withstand competition will become critical in my view. It is therefore my belief that a key factor in the success of Atmanirbhar Bharat will be the role played by our entrepreneurs. With that, I will end. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.